Hey, hi there. We are the Monday Movie Club. We are continuing our project of torturing each other with movies we insist the others need to see. I'm Frank Gaffney. Here with me is Amy Goldman, live from Kew Gardens. It's Amy Goldman. Joel Fenster. Where's your Star Trek thing?
There's actually something behind me. It's kind of hidden. It's a graphic novel that is something of a sequel of sorts to this movie.
I hope it's not too graphic. Mark Wotis Gardner, Annie King, and today's special guest is Meryl Freeman, who has been following our videos all this time and loves Star Trek.
Consummate Trekkie. Consummate.
You're a Trekker?
I'm a Trekker. Back in the day, it was Trekker.
Trekker versus Trekkie?
Yeah, back in the day, it was Trekker. In the 70s, it was Trekker. Or if you were Trekkie, you weren't serious. Now they use Trekkie and it's okay.
So either way, you're...
I will refer to the crazy fans as Trekkos, just to...
Like wackos.
Yeah.
Speaking of wackos, Amy, you chose this movie. Why?
Why? Let me show you my props. This is why I chose this movie.
Props. You got props.
I got props. The reason I chose movies, I think I've told you all, I know I have, is for the most part, they mean something to me. And when, as you all know, when I got my first temp job at Simon & Schuster, they were owned by Gulf and Western, who also owned Paramount, so we had the rights to all things Star Trek. So my job was to test Star Trek computer games all day, just play DOS-based games, type in things like, tell Kirk to say, fuck you to Spock. I was typing in things that they thought kids would type in, crash the program, so I would find all that shit. So this was my first fabulous game that I loved, that I tested, and this one that I wrote the user's guide to. Back here is the actual disc that you put into your Atari or your Commodore.
Amy, you were kind of like Tom Hanks in Big. You got paid to play games,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
It's
exactly.
fantastic.
Yeah. And
I
this was
actually
a
have that.
fabulous one.
I actually have that
Ooh.
second one.
Yeah, you do.
Is your name in it somewhere?
What?
Is your name in
Yes,
it?
I wrote the user's guide for this one and
Where
this
does
one.
it say?
Same.
Show us where it says Amy Goldman. Wait. Look at the user's guide, written by Amy Goldman, Mike Singleton, and Tony Beckwith. Sounded to me like you were taking the entire credit.
I was, because I don't know why their names were on there. And I was like, who the hell are these people? I don't even remember them. And the same thing happened with this one. There was another writer. So I'm like, no, there wasn't. It was very weird. But you know,
Maybe
I was only
contractual.
an hourly temp. So I was 18 years old.
Maybe it was contractual.
Maybe. So anyway.
So you got $5 an hour to write
Frankly,
this
at 40
guide?
minutes. Yeah,
Oh,
right,
God.
exactly. So I had never cared about Star Trek, had no interest in it. So as I'm playing these games, I said to my boss, Debbie Weinberger, and Kathleen Hasselbauer, who I love, and without Kathleen, I don't think I would have ever adopted Gracie. I really should start watching Star Trek. So Debbie had them all on VHS in her office, and I would take them home and watch them. And I remember coming back in the office one day saying, oh my God, Sulu's Chinese. I really had no idea. And I just all of a sudden fell in love with the show, and I became obsessed with the show, and I watched them over and over and over. And then lo and behold, the first movie to come out, because I started in '84, was Star Trek: The Voyage Home. And I was given this fabulous thing. And it's really just a giant bio of the movie, of the cast, how it was made, all that fabulous stuff. It's in pristine condition. That's the biggest reason why Star Trek 4 became my first love. And then, of course, I watched 2 and 3. And so I agree that there's always the argument, which is better, 2 or 4, 2 or 4. And depending on the day, I could say either one is better. But honestly, after watching this one, I think 2 is definitely the better movie. Yeah. But 4 is just so much fun. And because that was my first movie, I had to choose it. I just love the movie. And I watched it with text commentary. First, I had William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy talking, but they talked nonstop. I didn't even hear the movie, not that I needed to, because I know every single line from the movie. But I watched I read the text, which was done by like 2 of the production designers. So it was a lot of really interesting facts that weren't even on the IMDb trivia. So it was fun. Loved it, love it, love it. 4 stars.
Well,
Even
thanks for
though I-
watching. Our 40 minutes are up.
All right. This is my movie and I had to, and I had my prop.
Okay, and we'll give you your props. All right, so you're done. You're not even coming back at the end. You said 4 stars.
I'll
Amy
just go on mute.
Goldman, 4 stars. All right, you can leave. All right. All right, so I read in the trivia what was on the trivia. Oh, you messed it up.
Totally.
Wow.
Well, see, it
That
looks
the
great.
when they're when they originally talking about Star Trek 4, Eddie Murphy was involved. That would
Yeah.
have been an entirely different movie altogether.
It would have been an entirely different movie.
A lot more colorful metaphors.
You people,
Yeah.
we just watched Airplane.
Amy and I said it.
Saving the
Joel, I didn't see
Whales.
you say it.
And Saving the Whales is quite different. So Leonard Nimoy had directed 3 and it was a hit, so they gave him a little more leeway on 4, and they went with this story, which I mean, nobody dies in this movie. There's there's no battles at all. And is there a monster of the week? Is the whale count?
Well, no, he had said
The,
he had
the penis
specific.
cylinder, that was, the monster. Yeah, the cylinder that had the penis.
Oh.
Well, actually, Leonard Nimoy said in one of the interviews I watched yesterday that there was no bad guy in the movie, and if you had to have a bad guy, it would have been the whalers at the very end. That was it. The cylinder,
So-
the probe wasn't a bad guy at all. It's just
Yeah,
So,
although initially they thought it was, yeah.
yeah.
So Amy, where does this fit in the canon? Is this could be an episode?
I would say so. I don't think you need. I think it could totally stand alone.
All right, so the first bit of the movie, you get the Klingon explanation of what happened in Star Trek 3. And I have to take his word for it because I do not remember. And then Spock has to get re-educated. And so his mother says you're being trained in the Vulcan way. So why is everything in English? So I don't know. And then the problem is they don't know what the whale is saying. They need to translate the whale song. Hello, they have universal translators. And I believe they even got a rainbow cloud once translated. So they could translate a rainbow cloud in an episode, but they can't translate a whale on a universal translator.
But the whales didn't exist, so why would
they
you
were
have
extinct.
translation of something from 300 years ago?
Very good response.
Point.
Thank you.
And how does slingshotting around the star send you back in time? Were they watching Superman the movie? You're supposed to
No,
just spin.
That's from
You're
an
supposed
old
to spin the
episode.
Earth.
Yeah.
You're supposed to spin the Earth backwards. That's how it works. And why is Dr. Jillian Taylor doing the tours?
Yeah,
Does she
right.
have better things to do?
Budget cuts.
Oh. And then in the then of course, and we've always been told this in time travel movies, you can't alter the timeline. Yet Scotty gives him the recipe, not the recipe. What do I mean?
The
How to
ingredient.
make the aluminum, right?
This is my main problem with this movie.
Right.
Right.
McCoy heals this woman's diabetes. Chekhov leaves behind the phaser. They're fucking up everything in this madcap movie.
Well, and
They
this
don't
is what goes against canon because it's in all of Star Trek, starting in the beginning, the episode City on the Edge of Forever, the one where Edith Keeler, right?
Yeah.
They are so careful to not
Alter the timeline.
If you flick a booger in the wrong direction, you can change the timeline. And even Kirk is not listening to his crotch and he lets her die at the end of it. And then all of a sudden you have this thing where there are so many canon and timeline violations. It's the only reason it doesn't get a 4 for me, Amy. It just is totally against the grain of Star Trek canon, in my humble opinion.
All right, I have more. All right, stop talking now.
I'm shutting up.
We have
40
one.
minutes.
We have one enough Star Trek geek on this side. I don't need one on this side.
Oh, okay.
All right. So when they're lowering the plexiglass into the, it clearly has a crate on it, but when it gets in the ship, there's no crate. It's just the glass. It's magic.
Yeah.
It's like the
And then
Batman.
What?
It's like the bat poles in Batman. As you go down, things change.
they disappear. And I read also that orcas are not killer whales. They're actually a kind of dolphin.
Yeah.
So that whole nomenclature.
But
is
these
wrong.
weren't orcas, these were humpbacks.
Humpbacks, yeah,
These are whales.
humpbacks.
I thought there was a time when they referred to them
Dolphin.
as killer whales. Yeah.
Not
No.
these.
No.
No, those are orcas.
All right. So when Scotty says when Kirk says Scotty beam me up, and then Jillian just jumps on him, I think that violates transporting rules.
I
'Cause
I
she's-
definitely thought she would have
He's
been
like
like
150 pounds heavier. They have to calculate how much they're bringing with them.
Not only that, he was right outside. It was like Spaceballs. He couldn't walk up 5 feet. He was right there.
I thought the same thing when they were bringing Chekhov to the starship. I'm like, what is it? No, it's the bird of prey, whatever it's called. And they're bringing him. I'm like, just beam him aboard. You're making him walk. He's hurt. All right. So I am not quite the Star Trek fan that these two are, but I definitely remember watching it on Channel 11 during dinner. I mean, like every night we watched it. But I'm going with 3 stars on this one. I don't think it really has aged very well. It was fun to see them, obviously being out of character, and it was funny, and there were things, but at the same time, Catherine Hicks is a terrible actress, and it just was a little way out of canon for me.
You know how much I love a fish out of water movie.
Yeah, and that was fun to see them doing those things.
But whales are mammals.
See a mammal out of water things, but for me it was a little too far out of the Star Trek universe. Annie King, what do you think? You were friends with Amy when she was a Star Trek geek.
Yeah, I can't say I watched all of the series. I've seen it, like you said with dinner, but I've seen it like in college, it'd be on, somebody was watching it in the lounge or whatever. So I've seen them. They're okay, but
They're all on Paramount Plus. You can watch all of them right now.
Okay, get right on that. But when this movie came out, and I think like Amy, I just love a whale out of water stories, and it was just so much fun, just to see all the funny things that they say and stuff. Like I so clearly remember the double dumbass line. It was just, it was a classic. So I enjoy it. It's fun to watch. It's not so much sci-fi, and who doesn't love whales, when although like my big thing was that huge cylinder, like what did they use for that? It was just so silly looking, I guess,
And with a soccer ball on the end of it.
yeah, so
It's a good thing they had it.
where did it come from? But anyway, I liked everybody remember where we parked. That
Great
just
line.
cracked me up, yeah. And McCoy, when he said, so I have to die to discuss death with you, that I thought that was funny too. So it was just fun to
But
watch.
Amy, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't he die in one episode, McCoy?
Yeah.
So he already does. No,
Yeah.
he has died.
So, well, yeah, I just enjoyed it. And even watching it so many years later, it was just fun to see. So it's 3.75 for me.
Woohoo.
That was not a 3.75 review. Sorry.
No, it went much higher than I expected. That was like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I loved it. 2 stars.
Yeah. All right, let's hear from the Star Trek geek, Meryl Freeman. Welcome.
Hello. I already.
What? Oh, sorry. Trek.
I didn't know
Trekkie.
this.
Trekkie.
Now it's Trekkie. It's okay.
All right.
So just to give you an idea of the Trek depth, I was punished as a kid in the 60s by, if I was bad, the 3-year Star Trek was on, my dad would make sure I did not watch Star Trek that week. So for 3 years, I was the best kid on the planet.
Or any other planet.
Or any other planet. But yeah, Star Trek's been kind of my universe for a long time.
Wait a
And,
minute. I would think it was on past your bedtime. How'd you get to stay up?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. Yeah, I believe, if I remember correctly.
I thought it was on at 10 o'clock
Yeah,
on the
I
schedule.
don't remember, but if it was, I stayed up for
All
it.
right.
And
Wow.
we didn't have DVR back then. So the thing
Nobody did, Meryl. Nobody
Huh?
did.
Nobody did.
Nobody did.
we didn't either.
right.
So yeah, I think the thing about this movie from a Trek standpoint is it's the first movie that made Star Trek accessible.
Yeah.
So it was Star Trek. People look at it. I've been to conventions, and people look at a lot of Trek fans as geeks and idiots and this and that. But this is the first thing that made the Star Trek universe accessible to the general public. And I think the movie did, if I remember correctly, extremely well, probably better than some of the other movies. And I think to do that, they had to use plot devices that went against canon. So I thoroughly enjoyed it, even though I kind of cringed at a few of the moments. I laughed out loud at all the stuff that you guys are talking about. And to me, it was my second favorite of the original Star Trek movies. Just for entertainment value. If you sit there, it's engaging. You're not bored. You're laughing. And for me, it was a 3.8. And
Yeah.
the 0.2 is taken off because of the timeline crap.
So I just looked it up, and Voyage Home is indeed the highest grossing Star Trek movie of that era,
Mhm.
of the original crew.
Yeah,
Are you done?
I'm finished.
Wow. I thought you were gonna have more to say.
I
All right.
later.
Mark G, was Star Trek in your universe?
No, not. Oh,
No.
well, I can't say that. I'm similar to Annie with that. Don't forget, this movie came out in 1986. I was 11, so I'm a little younger than a lot of other people here.
Yeah, but I
had
think 11 was a key demographic for this movie.
100%. But we're going into it. I wasn't a Trekkie, you know. I watched it. My aunt was a big Trekkie, so I had seen some of it. But I have a definite. I have a full memory of watching this in the theaters with my parents, because my parents let me have like a giant bag of M&Ms, and I was never allowed to have that or soda unless it was a special occasion. So I remember that, and I remember all the colorful metaphors because my mom never let me watch any R-rated movies either, which is why, seeing this, and I just wanted to say a big thank you to the makers of Sheena as well for slapping a PG on that one, because I was able to watch that. Joel gets it. And unfortunately, at the end of I ate so much M&Ms. I thought I was getting sick from it, but the next morning I woke up with strep throat. So I tied strep throat and feeling sick to M&Ms. So I didn't have M&Ms for like my entire teenage years, because it was like being drunk, having a hangover and saying, oh, I can't have whiskey anymore. It was like that.
Were they plain or peanut?
Plain. I was big plain. No peanuts until I was an adult.
That's why you didn't have the protein of the peanuts to help
Yeah.
absorb everything.
You're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
That would have saved you.
Anyway, no, similar to you guys, I'm only going to give it a 3 just because it was a little bit too goofy and so forth. But and as an adult rewatching it, I was like, all right, this is kind of silly, but but I still enjoyed a lot of it. And I didn't care about the silliness. I just sat back. It was very, very watchable. But I do have to say that Star Trek 2, I would definitely say would be the better movie as well.
Yeah.
Joel,
That's
are you
it.
in agreement with that?
I'm kind of in agreement with everybody to an extent. I was brought up on Star Trek. Both my parents were as Trekkie as I guess you could be in the mid to late 60s. And when it was in syndication, we watched it constantly, so it was always on for me. My dad actually took me to a Star Trek convention at one point in the mid 70s before we moved out of New York. So
Was this before the movie came out?
yes, yeah.
Wow.
The Star Trek the Motion Picture is actually the only movie that I saw with him in the theaters in the series, because he passed away the next year. But we were actually in Vermont when it came out. We waited in line to see it on opening
Vermont?
day. Yeah, it was crazy.
You don't go
but-
to movies on vacation.
Oh, that's how much of a Trekkie he was. we were going to movies with this movie we were not missing. So, and let's see, I would have been 10 at the time, so I was bored shitless watching Star Trek the Motion Picture.
As you should have been.
Yeah, I've come to appreciate it a little bit more over the years, but anyway, as far as this film is concerned, it's definitely one of the better ones of the six. It does have some various issues with the time travel laws and plot lines, and some stuff that's not canon, and some stuff just seems kind of pointless. As if it's following through on Star Treks 2 and 3, it's like, oh look, there's Saavik, bye, we're never going to see you again.
Yeah.
You seemed important in the last two movies, now nobody gives a shit, go
Yeah.
away. And that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. The film
But
itself,
the threads are picked up in the next movie, right?
no, we never see her again.
Oh, wasn't she pregnant?
There were rumors that was the plot line, and they just kind of decided to, dispense
Wrote
with
it out. They
move
wrote
on.
it out.
She
Yeah.
got an abortion.
Yeah, sure. Or what?
Not in Texas.
She was aborted completely, because we don't see her again in any of the. I'm sure she shows up in a novel or 2 or 7 or whatever, but those aren't canon, so it doesn't matter. Some of the jokes are not as they've dated badly. Like, who the hell knows who the hell Jacqueline Suzanne and
Yeah, Harold Robbins.
Harold Robbins are at this point.
As Meryl, you said last night, the Giants.
Yeah. So there's
noticed
some
that.
dated jokes like that, but it's a fun film. It's enjoyable. The cast camaraderie is there for the most part, at least the ones that have, Sulu seems to get the short end of the stick in this film. He's like, look, I'm flying a helicopter. Yay. That's about it. So, I'm going to give it, I got a 3.5. So Star Trek 2 is still my favorite, and Star Trek 6 is probably right behind that one. So.
Same. Yeah, definitely
yeah.
2, 4, 6. I love
Yeah.
those 3. 6 is Nan's absolute favorite.
I get that.
Meryl, what's your favorite? As long as we're
My
favoriting.
favorite, Wrath of Khan.
Yeah, Wrath of Khan.
Wrath of
I mean,
Khan.
I think, mostly because it really was a Star Trek episode, just blown up, a 2-parter on a big screen. And you have any final thoughts before we go?
No, I don't think so. I mean, he reminded me that I loved Star Trek so much in the 80s that I too went to conventions, and I went to one, in fact, called the Spock's Family Convention. Jane Wyatt was there, Mark Leonard Nimoy. And the best part of conventions to me wasn't, looking at all the stuff and the weird people. It was just sitting there listening to the panel speak. It was fabulous. It was
Yeah.
so interesting. So I even went to conventions.
Do you want to give us some tidbits you read today that you didn't know already? We still have 10 minutes.
It was fun when I was watching it with the stretch. When I was watching it with the text documentary, what the text commentary. One of the things they said, and when you mentioned the Huey, when Sulu was flying it and he accidentally turns on the wiper, the windshield wiper didn't work. So you can see a guy's hand going like this. And I was like, oh my God, you can see the hand.
Oh my
A
God.
lot of little fun things like that. Kirk Thatcher, who was an associate producer who played the punk guy, he was also the voice of the computer when Spock was, asking, reprogramming his mind. So it was a lot of fun little things like that I never would have known.
And
But
he
what always-
shows up in episode of Picard this week, right?
So I hear,
The punk
yeah.
guy on the.
Yeah.
Is he the same punk guy?
Same
Yeah.
one guy,
Oh,
same
same
song.
guy, yeah.
Same guy.
So they go back to 1986 again?
Nope.
No, they go back to 2024.
Oh, And he hasn't changed. Just like me, I'm exactly the same I was in 1986.
Isn't he
Yes.
also doesn't he also make an appearance in one of the Spider-Man movies, if I remember correctly, or
Does
something?
he?
I remember reading that.
Oh, come on, you truckers should know where everybody has been.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
And did you say I changed my name? Last week.
I just want to say before we
in
go
the
that I still
Yes,
regularly.
he's in Spider-Man Homecoming, sorry.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just going to say
That's the
he.
same character?
Yeah.
Sorry, Mark.
Yeah.
I'll just sit here.
What do you want to say, Mark?
I'm
I was
looking
just
at
going to say that I still, to this day, I still use Double Dumbass, Hello Computer, and Nuclear Westlers on a regular basis. So it
Oh, that's
definitely had
funny.
an impact on me,
That's funny.
much to Danielle's chagrin.
Yeah. And I think
Kirk
it was
said-
interesting that they chose the environmental aspect of it, with the whales. It was more of a universal appeal at the time.
Sure.
I
Sure.
find
Well,
it.
I mean, and I just watched them. Well, I didn't watch the movie Blackfish, and it was about orcas in captivity. So I was
Yeah.
like, wow, I'm on a whale-a-thon.
One of the things this movie reminded me of, because you get it maybe a year or two later, I don't remember the specifics, is the fourth entry in this series is, takes on a topic at the time that was big, environmentalism, and then you had Superman 4, which tried to tackle something as big as a topic. Are we running out of time? Is that what that beep is?
No, that was
Those are
just
texts, I'll turn
that,
it off.
Oh.
My
no, that was
brother.
just the general get on with it, Joel.
Yeah, stop talking about Superman 4. It's a shitty film.
Yeah.
But yes, that's my point, is that watching this film, which does that aspect very well, reminded me of another fourth entry in another series that tried to do something similar and did it in such a shitty way.
I see.
Yeah.
All right.
Frank, you have to let me share my screen real quickly.
Oh my goodness. Where's that? Okay, go. Amy is going to share her screen.
Can you see that?
There he is.
The guy holding the boom box is Kurt
Oh,
Thatcher.
so his hair was different, obviously.
That's all.
He looks like Santa Claus now.
Yeah, he does.
Well, you can look him up in Picard and see what he looks like.
We'll wait.
Remember, we're stretching. Just fill the 10 minutes, right?
Okay, so that was fun. So we are going to continue. I don't think Meryl's going to be with us next week, but next week, so we voted on which Easter/Passover movie would be fun to watch, because those two holidays are coming up. And we selected Monty
There he is.
Python.
Wait, did you see him?
Oh, so they redid him. That's nice. That looks like 1986.
It's 2024.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Very funny.
And 7 of 9 kind of dispatches of him.
Yeah.
That's great.
As I was saying, we all voted on a Easter Passover movie for next week, since those holidays are coming up, and we selected Monty Python's Life of Brian. So we'll be watching that. It's available on Netflix if you want to watch it before then and join us in our discussion, as Meryl did here today. Thank you very much. I'm Frank Gaffney. Watch a movie.